not a problem.
This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it is time for the Bully Blog podcast. And on behalf of Dave Rosenberg and his team who put together the reunion film, I am so glad that we are talking about these situations. And Jill, this is not a place where I thought we would have a podcast. We always talk about music.
We do.
Yeah. And, maybe you and Mark have to write a song about this because bullying is, it seems to be the in thing, and I don't get it. And, we're all different. None of us look alike. I mean, look at the three of us, wearing different styles of clothes. We come from different backgrounds, and yet it doesn't mean we can't get together,
Sure.
But last week you posted something on Facebook and it touched my heart. And
Yes.
you said, there is a bullying issue here. And my daughter, Mary, is sort of at the center of it. And Mary,
Yeah.
you're not doing the bullying, correct?
Yes.
So you're being bullied, correct?
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about, I know the pandemic kept you out of school for a while. Now you're back at school. And all of a sudden you walk down the hall and somebody just wants to be mean to you. Is that it?
I suppose so. I think a lot of these kids are very immature that since we haven't been in school, but I really don't know any of these kids and they have no real reason to give me any hard time.
So these are just students in the building who really don't know you, but they've seen you and they've said in their minds, hey, this is somebody that we can tease and get upset and we can just have some fun with, correct?
Yeah.
So when it first happened, what did you think? Did you know it was being directed towards you, or did you think it was being just directed towards a group of people?
The first few times I thought it was only at me. I talked to a few friends and it's been sort of at them, but mostly I've been at this front head of this problem where my friends get barked at maybe, I don't know, 2 times a week, where I get barked at 3 times a day.
So you're telling me you get barked at. Why are you getting barked at?
Mostly because of what I wear.
So describe something that you wear that creates this reaction.
I wear big chokers with spikes and a lot of eyeliner. My hair is always dyed. And
so my hair is dyed too. No, it's not pink. It's not pink, but you know what? I do have friends who have colored hair. Okay. Pink, blue, green. And that's their choice. I keep teasing my husband, I'm going to dye my hair purple. And he keeps telling me he'll divorce me. So I haven't dyed it that color. But, those are choices that we make, and it's personal choices. So that should not affect somebody. I mean, if they don't like it, don't look at me. Okay. And choker necklaces are, I don't know if it's a fad now or if it's a social statement, but obviously your mom thinks that you're well behaved enough that wearing a choker necklace doesn't make you any different from anybody else, correct?
yes.
Yes, Mary academically does well in school, and she's involved in some of the after-school groups and whatnot. And with the choker necklaces, she has a different style, I guess, than the majority of kids, but I don't have a problem with that sort of thing. And I think it's normal and totally acceptable.
Yep.
So I did not see a problem with that. And she's very creative as well. She's a bit of an artist. So she's even gone to buy things to make her own chokers and jewelry and whatnot. So
Well,
I didn't think it would bring this sort of problem. I never saw that coming.
Well, and when I look at your lifestyle, Jill, you're a nurse and
Yeah.
you're also a musician. And as a musician, sometimes those different styles, are what you use on stage.
Sure.
And so being creative, there's nothing wrong with creative as long as we're not hurting other people. And
Right.
yet Mary's being hurt by people who are choosing to say, hey, I don't like what you're wearing. I don't like the way you look. So, Mary, what have you done to maybe respond to these comments? Anything at all?
I usually don't respond well if I don't ignore it. Sometimes I just turn around, flip them off, and keep walking. But it's probably not something I should do.
Well, at least you're being honest. And I think that's probably the first reaction any of us would have. Okay. Because it's very hard to ignore people. As I told you before we went online, my son was harassed from middle school all the way through high school. And his dad and I would say to him, try to ignore them. Go find another group of kids. And he would say, it's not that easy. Mom, I'm in the classroom with them. I'm walking down the hall with them. As soon as I try to get in with a different group, they're there. And, a lot of it I didn't understand. And I too went to the school and complained. And I will say, it seems like I had a lot. I didn't have as much luck as you seem to be having, Jill. They would
Yeah.
tell me to keep him home.
Oh,
Yeah. So it was like, if he can't handle it, keep him home. And it was like, so he gets punished because he's being bullied. No, that's not the way it should be. So I understand what you said, Mary. Sometimes you get to that point where you just gotta get in their face. But is the school noticing that you and some of your friends are being treated this way?
I think only because I think they noticed before, but it was like, oh, they're barking. You tell us, we'll handle it. Until my mom went in and was very upset.
do you mind if I talk a little more? So Mary's done a great job of the first incident that happened. She came to me with it, and together we sent out some emails. It was on a holiday even, but I contacted the superintendent of the district through email, and Mary sent emails to her teachers to notify them that there was a problem. It made it easy on the school side through the investigation, as far as there was no he said, she said, Mary did this, they did that. There was no history between these kids. We didn't even know their names.
Wow.
So, but because the initial incident happened online, these kids made a private, was it a TikTok?
No, they had a Snapchat story.
Snapchat. And they labeled it after her, and they had actually taken photos of her in the day, like throughout school and whatnot. So I told her, clip shot these now in her home. So because they disappear.
Right.
The Snapchat is famous for disappearing. So the kids use it in all kinds of naughty ways because they go away. So I was like, get that quickly. So we got as many of them as we could, and we attached them to the email. And I'm fairly familiar with the laws and those sorts of things. So I use some pretty triggering words and whatnot and attach these photos. So they were able to do their investigation, and they were able to notice that there was no back and forth. So they were able to handle that. Then we had this other barking issue, which was much more difficult because it was in the hallways and Mary's not sure where it's coming from. She did do some flipping it up, but the biggest thing I'm proud of her for is that she's turning them in. So she's reporting them. And what I learned was that only 5% of kids actually report the bullying to their parents and their
Yes,
schools. They just struggle through this. So one of the first things I said to Mary was like, good for you.
absolutely.
So that is like the only way that we can even get involved and try to help is if you speak up. And so she did. And so as things have been unfolding at the school, she has been telling me, and then I'm reporting it, and she's been telling the teachers as well. The teachers, she does tell me, I watched your blog last week. And so I heard a little bit of your story, and
Sure.
the administrator, and also the gentleman who has the movie coming out. That's exciting. But I noticed that there was a lot of the conversation about how, okay, well, then the bullied can go home and the bullied has a pass to leave class. And I mentioned that to Mary, and Mary said, yes, I have a pass to leave anytime I want also. So she can leave her classrooms, although the school and I are both encouraging her to not avoid school over this. So, but that is easier said than done. It's definitely easier to avoid it, probably. I mean, it probably feels like you don't want to deal with it. And I was a little concerned that she has this pass also to leave whenever, which is maybe she likes it. I don't know. But ultimately, she's missing classes when these things happen. She said she's not used it. So that,
Well, that's
but
good. And,
so
and what that says to me, Mary, about you and your personality is that you know that you're not doing anything wrong, that you're experiencing life as a young teenager. And that's what we should be doing. We should be doing that through our whole life. Okay. And one of the big things that we talk about on all of our podcasts here is living life to the fullest without hurting the next person. So for instance, if your dress code, your hair color, your makeup, if your mom didn't like that, well, then that would be between you and your mom to work that out. But your mom sees that you're being a good kid, you're getting good grades, you're going to school, you're not barking at anybody. So you're not hurting anybody. Okay. And we all go through stages. Um, you know, I think if you would talk to more adults today, you would find out some of the crazy things that we did too. Okay. And we did it because it's a way to express ourselves. And
yeah,
I almost believe if these kids who are picking on you would stop the barking, would stop saying mean things, that I'm not going to say you're not going to wear the choker necklace, but you might one day wake up and say, you know what? I don't need this anymore. There's something else I want to use. But the
right.
more they do this, the more you are going to be there saying, no, I'm going to keep doing this. And so you're butting heads. So let's talk about, you're in the classroom. They're not barking in the classroom, I hope.
No, not in front of any adults.
Okay. So they wait till you're walking down the hall and the adults are sort of on the sidelines. Is that it?
Mhm.
So have you been able to talk to any of these individuals and find out who they are and why they're doing what they're doing?
No.
So the podcast that your mom is referring to, David Rosenberg is, like I said, is a teacher out in California. And he had Dr. Kwan on with him, who's his administrator. And one of the things they do at his school to confront the bullying is they do what they call circles. And this is something that you may want to talk to your administration about, where you bring the bully in or the bullies, okay, along with the people that they are bullying, and have a conversation. And what don't you like about my necklace? What don't you like about my hair? What don't you like about Me? Why are you picking on me? Oftentimes what you're going to find out, Mary, they're not happy with themselves. Did you know that?
Yes.
Yeah. Is
I
that
would,
something? Yeah. Is that
sorry,
something you think you could do?
Maybe.
did the school, with the first incident, I think they did have some kind of thing where you sat with the other kids
Yeah, one at a time.
one at a
One at a
time.
time. And how
So,
did that,
so they
and how,
did do that.
yeah. So how did that work?
The principal was there and I was, and one of the kids at a time.
And did you get any closure from any of them? Did any of them ever say they were sorry? Have they stopped doing
Um,
what they're doing?
they did stop and they did say they were sorry, but I don't know if I'd call that closure.
Okay.
There wasn't really a reason for it, so no closure.
That's just not okay.
Yeah.
Right. But I think, did you tell me that one of the kids was crying? It was upsetting to her to have to face you directly. And
Yes.
I do think it had an effect on those children. I don't think that the positive effect was as positive for Mary, but those particular kids, that was with the first online bullying incident. And they did seem to stop that as far as I know. So I feel like that was in some way helpful. What about with the one girl that was barking? I feel like did you get to talk to her as well?
No.
No. Okay. I guess they haven't done that with the barking. They did do another interesting thing. I think they're in the process of doing something anyways. I believe they said there was an incident that was caught by adults, and they have videos and cameras in the hallway, so they've been able to go back and unravel this a little
Sure.
and find some of the people. And they are making some examples of some of them are being suspended for like 5 days at a time, a big
Okay.
suspension. And they had a great idea for Mary's involved in a few after school groups, the clubs after school. And one of those teachers that is leading those groups was employed there specifically because her degree is geared towards inclusion and in all the different ways that inclusion should be.
Sure.
And bullying is part of the topics, I guess. So the school recommended, like, maybe through the groups that Mary's involved in, she can get together with the groups of students and that teacher leading it, come up with some ideas and plans and present it to the student council, who can then come up with some kind of student movement to drive an anti-bullying and a more positive something in the community, starting from the kids up. And I thought that was a great idea. I think Mary said they've had some starting conversations. I don't know what has come of that or how it will work, but I think if it comes from the kids, it may get more movement. And the school did a lot of making excuses for these people as well. And Mary kind of voiced that here. She said, well, I think the other children are immature. And the school is saying that not only are they said that the ninth graders every year come in immature. They have to do a little bit of reining things in to get them onto the we're in high school now mode. But this year in particular is different because these kids haven't been to school like normal in 2 years. So
Right.
they're socially behind.
Sure.
So
And and we can make excuses, but bullying has been going on
forever.
Forever. So it's interesting when we started this podcast, when I started it, I said, I was bullied when I went to school. And the more I've thought about it, I truly bullied myself more than I was being bullied. And what I say by that is, I wasn't as accepted by a core of girls that I wanted to be part of. Now, individually, I was. One-on-one, I had these friends. But when they got together in their little club-like atmosphere. I was on the outside looking in. And so over the years, I convinced myself I had been bullied. Um, so now that I look back, it's like, maybe I was, maybe I wasn't, but I bullied myself. And
Yeah.
sometimes we have to stop and think about the situation. I don't think that's Mary's situation at all at this
Right.
point. But I think sometimes when adults look at situations, they look at it like I did for my son. And that was, well, separate yourself, go find another group of friends. Well, that's not always so easy, especially when you're walking down a hallway, um, and
Right.
maybe you're not with that group of friends coming from one class to another. Um, so we have to be a little bit more sensitive. And I think as parents, we have to keep the dialogue going.
Sure.
You're not there to be Mary's friend right now. You're there to be, her guide.
Yeah.
Because being her friend is what I tried with my son. And that was, trying to make excuses, well, maybe you're doing something wrong. Well, ignore them. And it was like, now that I look back, how sad, I sometimes I want to go back and tell him when he was 14 years old that, it wasn't your fault, but I wasn't
Right.
sure. I wasn't in the school, so I
Right.
didn't know what was happening. So Mary, I get this feeling you do have a group of friends, right?
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, sort of. Okay. Um, do you like being independent, or do you like being in a group of people? Which makes you feel better?
I enjoy being in a group of people, but I am pretty independent.
Okay. So, and I'm sure that comes out, okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. Um, and that's something that you just have to be comfortable with, that, you know what? Um, I'm my own person. And I think that's wonderful that you can be at your age, because I'm going to be really honest with you. I was 60 years old when I became independent. It's a long time, okay, to try to be like everybody else. And I woke up one day, and it was because of my son, who said, "Mom, stop being miserable. Be who you want to be."
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, you're giving me permission. And I think that's what your mom's doing too with you, okay? Giving you permission to be independent as long as you're doing the right things. And you are. So if you could say something to all the bullies right now, what would you say to them?
I don't know.
Just don't curse. No.
Jill,
Want them to know.
Jill, what would you say to their parents right now if they were sitting right there, and you're not going to curse either?
No. Well, I did have the opportunity to speak to one parent, and her daughter sort of put her toe in to the situation and took her shot at the barking. And I knew this one parent, so I did contact her, and I simply told her that there was some very clear bullying going on, and that I thought it might be in her daughter's best interest to not be involved in that bullying, because I intend to hold them accountable to the fullest extent that I possibly can, and that we won't back down. And, hopefully, so far, Mary hasn't had to come to any fisticuffs. When I was in school, that's how I handled that sort of thing. But Mary's been very mature about it and handling it very well. But I just suggested that she have a conversation with her daughter and whatnot. And shockingly, the mom came back with what I suppose I expect. But I'll come back to that. In the end, she said, yes, of course. And she's doing whatever she's doing on her end, and showed up at the bus stop to make sure to keep her eye on the situation and those sort of things. But before she did that, she did kind of say, well, maybe, did Mary say something? Did Mary know those people? What did Mary do? And I was offended, um, because, well, the school has already done the investigation. So I was quite clear that Mary did not do anything. Number one, it was very much just plain old bullying. There was none of that other stuff involved. And number two, I think in our society, we do a lot of victim blaming, and we see it in people that are raped. And we say it all the time. What was she wearing? What time was it? Where was she? She was there alone. You know, and domestic violence. Well, what did they do? Did they,
Right.
so
Exactly.
I was highly offended. I understand it because I guess because that is what I think we all come to. I think I don't know why we do that, but we do. And Mary's case made it very super easy to see that she did not even know these people. So,
And yeah.
But I would tell the parents we should be teaching our children to have more respect for themselves and for humanity than that. And that being different is okay. And actually, we're all very different. And the faster we can embrace that, the better it is. And how boring would the world be if we were all the same?
I sometimes look at my family here, my husband, myself, my youngest son, who is 31 years old. We all look at life a little differently.
Sure.
And, we don't agree with everything. Okay. And having, a young adult still living in the house, we don't ask where he's going and when he's coming back or anything. But, sometimes you accidentally ask a question and, we get our feathers ruffled, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's, you learn how to communicate. And I sometimes sit back and laugh and go, if three people living in a house can be so different and get along, then why can't we step out of that house, okay, and accept the fact that we have differences?
Yeah.
I have many friends who different religions, different ethnicity, and it's like, well, I may not agree, but I don't have to disagree, and that's where the bullies are coming in.
Yeah.
It's like, if you don't like what I'm wearing, then just keep going,
Right.
it was okay for my mother to constantly tell me that she didn't like my hair or what I was wearing. That was just between me and my mom. Okay. But if a friend would say that to me, I would find that insulting. And especially if a stranger would say that
Yeah.
to me, because it's none of your business. So, Mary, going forward, Mom is trying to help pave a way for you. What do you think you can do when you walk back into the school tomorrow and maybe somebody has seen this podcast and they go, oh, you were talking about us, but you didn't use any names, so they don't know who we were really talking about. How are you going to deal with that?
I don't know. There's not much, it's their fault, I guess. I didn't do nothing.
I agree. It's their problem, not yours. Because if it upsets them, then they're doing something wrong.
Yes. And I think it's important we talk about these things.
Absolutely. And again, don't bottle it up, because you don't want to wake up 10 years from now and say, I didn't tell my mom about this. I didn't tell my counselor about this. They're the people who can help you through it. Okay. And what I'm going to do when we complete the podcast is I am going to send an email to Dave Rosenberg, who is part of the reunion film. He understands bullying 100%. He is helping his students in his classroom, and I'm sure he would be a great one to reach out to, and, you know, even just share your story with him, because he may have some ideas for your school, but more importantly for you, because he was bullied. Sound
Right.
good?
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. That sounds great. I also reached out to, I went looking up, Lady Gaga is very active in the,
Oh, wow.
with that. So I went to one of her websites there, and I actually ordered a book, has some positive feedback and different stories and things. But she does a lot of interesting things with the with bullying
Absolutely.
and inclusion and all of these things. So
Well, and I'll also send you the link to a book that just came out. Happens to be uh, my son's best friend. His name is Anthony Ianni. And
okay.
Anthony played basketball for Michigan State University.
Oh wow.
But Anthony is the first individual who played college basketball who was actually on the autism spectrum. So
Oh wow.
he was teased quite a bit. Anthony
Yeah.
he's a public speaker now. He's married, he's got kids, and he's phenomenal. But
Fantastic.
he will not stand for bullying. So we're going to give you some resources that can help you out, and let's catch up with you. Hopefully, maybe by after the holidays, maybe we can put this all to bed and everybody can become friendly. I'm not going to say friends, but at least friendly. Okay. And I just want to mention, Jill, I noticed on Facebook that you are going to be performing after the first of the year at Cafe Lena.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
that is,
excited.
yeah.
We won the Capital Region Blues Network again, so for the second time, and we're doing our Cafe Lena show there just before we go off to Memphis again.
How wonderful.
It's like Groundhog Day, except last time we went and then COVID happened. So hopefully this time we'll go and it'll be over. We're hoping.
We could only hope.
At least better or something.
Well, and I want to thank you for all you do in as a nurse, because first responders, they're very, very well needed. And I know you guys have put in a lot of work in the state of New York. So again, thank you for all that. And Mary, continue being the beautiful person you are, okay?
Okay.
I'm so glad to meet you. And Jill, we'll talk soon, okay?
Okay. Thank you
Have a
so
great
much.
day. Thank
Have
you.
a good day. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.